Alright there geezers, Jules here from FGS, home of the Future Games Show, and here's the thing, death, much like these bloody fists if you say that Dynasty Warriors 6 wasn't that bad, are gonna come at you quick when it comes to video games. From falling off floating platforms and likely spending the remainder of your few minutes pondering why they're floating in the first bloody place, being shot by enemies, crushed, stabbed, obliterated, whatever the hell is happening here, and many more, you are definitely going to meet your maker a lot in your time with the medium. Yet not all deaths are created equal, and while some might show off noble sacrifices or be the result of players' heroic actions, the ones that we're detailing today, well, they're just plain embarrassing. So let's have a chat about the times the Grim Reaper came a-knocking in the worst way possible. As I'm Jules, this is FGS, and these are 8 humiliating ways to die in video games. And you know the drill, this is the Deep Cut with Jules Gill, baby, so don't expect to see the likes of Professor Nakayama falling down the stairs in Borderlands or being beaten by Dan from Street Fighter. These are too obvious. It's deep cuts only. So let's kick things off with number 8. Drowning in cereal, King of the Castle. Now, if there's one thing that UK-based games publisher Team 17 is not short on, it is brilliant indie titles with often exceptionally outstandingly funny gameplay and premises. And King of the Castle is no exception, as here you play as a monarch trying to establish control over a medieval kingdom while implementing new policies and opening trade routes. So what was that? That doesn't sound funny or brilliant. Oh, right, I did forget to mention that this is actually a pseudo-party game, and every choice that you want to make, and I stress want to make, is actually put to a vote where your entire Twitch audience has a say in what actually happens to your noble ideals. Plus, the other barons and pretenders to the throne can actually also be played by your friends, meaning it's a betrayal game that plays out right in front of your bloody face. Do you want to help a struggling region with their farming tools? Well, whoops, it looks like you accidentally denied their help and instead sent each peasant a personalised Bayeux tapestry of you kicking their childhood pet to death. Do you want to stem a war that's looming on the horizon? Uh-oh, shock horror, turns out that chat has said that you're actually going to turn your back on the situation and say, if I can't see it, it can't hurt me. I'm sure that that's going to work out well. Across your time, your monarch is going to be royally screwed over and over until it comes time for you to abdicate the throne, which normally means abdicating your life at the same time. And trust me, some of these deaths are humiliating. For example, if the intimidation scheme pays off for the barons, then your monarch will try to leap from their window due to an assassination attempt, only to realise, whilst falling, that you didn't build a moat, and they break their bones on landing. Cool. And if your authority level falls too low, you could actually become a morbidly obese idiot who dies on a toilet, all because nobody listened to you. And worst of all, though, happens if your so-called friends enact the Monopoly scheme, which sees a corporation take over your empire and turn you into a meaningless figurehead, and while you're advertising a new brand of cereal because you've been told by your corporate overlords to do so, you end up drowning in a giant bowl of milk. Ah, King Broderick the Confused, he died doing what he loved, shouting, "Why is nobody helping me? Why, you fools, you absolute you backstabbing, why is nobody helping me?" Truly a great man. Number 7. The Fate of Burnstone Barns, Wipeout 3. Ah, Wipeout, what a brilliant franchise, right? As a kid, back when I first laid eyes on this sci-fi racing spectacle, I said to myself, wow, boy howdy, can this be real? How can graphics be this good? And yeah, I know that that was a dumb thing for a dumb kid to be saying, and I also said the exact same thing about Final Fantasy VIII, even though it wasn't even the best looking Final Fantasy game, let alone game on the PlayStation 1 at the time. I digress. The impact that Wipeout had on me as a wee dumb kid was very big. Plus, when coupled with its banger soundtrack and its rather exceptional VR offering in recent years, it means that you better call me John Cena on TBS because I'm all about a Wipeout. God, that joke was bad. But not as bad as the demise of Burnstone Barns, the founder of the Icarus anti-grav racing team that appears in Wipeout 3. Now, poor old Barnsey here, whilst delivering the goods when it came to the racetrack, what with his ultra-fast, ultra-lightweight vehicles, definitely came up short in the humiliating deaths bonus round, as according to the game's wiki, he died, and I'll read this verbatim, at a child's birthday party after inhaling a balloon. Oh dear. Now, forgive me for laughing at the man's passing, but two things here. One, it's not real, so I'm okay laughing about it in the first place. And two, I did not expect in a racing game of all things to be delivered one of the most stupid and humiliating ways to die ever. No matter that we never actually get to see it happen in game, nor is it ever mentioned outside of this one section. So you know what, let's give a little salute here. R.I.P. Burnstone Barnes, you're up in heaven now making balloon animals for everyone. In fact, you know what, for old time's sake, why don't you make us a poodle, eh? What do you mean you can't make a poodle? What can you make then? A snake? You're not even trying. Number 6, falling off of a stepladder. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. And so now we travel to the well-worn trope of Jules including a Warhammer game in every single deep cut video and enter the action-packed world of Space Marine 2. Now, as we all know by now in this game, death isn't just around the corner, but he's bearing his bony butt right in your face, as you will not be able to venture to the corner shop and back without slaughtering 100 Tyranids or so, or smashing the lids off the walking pedal bins that are the Thousand Suns. Yet sometimes a death will occur that, despite this pain-soaked and rather depressing world, will defy belief and even give you a bit of a chuckle. And that's exactly what happens when you spy this poor fella who's taken a tumble. After you've completed a few missions in the main campaign, Titus will be free to roam the battle barge and listen in on conversations and musings from other battle brothers and servitors who maintain the ship, and of course the admech who are in charge of all of the tech. To keep it in tip-top condition. Now, as you're venturing through the ship, you'll spy a few Skitarii, also known as admech, maintaining one of the mighty Thunderhawks and are using a stepladder to do so. Yet if you return after completing a few more missions to the same place, you'll see that one of the Skitarii has taken a tumble and now lies dead on the floor. Now, not only is this a rather comical and humiliating way to kick the bucket, but the humiliation is only highlighted when you realise that nobody's coming to take the body away, and his mates are just likely laughing and binaric at him before going back to the break room to talk about the saucy new toaster that's joined recently. For those not in the know, the admech love tech, like they love tech, so the joke here is that they toasters. Good? Good. Number 5, Mariah's Bullet Boobs, Jojo's Bizarre Adventure R. Now, fighting games are no stranger to, well, very strange moves, and there are multiple ways to get knocked out and have your pride annihilated at the same time. Yet while a lot of these lists will cover things like Faust shoving a finger up your butt or Uranus from Bloody Raw humping you to death, little has been said about the absolutely offbeat death that you can witness at the boobs of Mariah from Jojo's Bizarre Adventure R. Did I say boobs instead of hands? Surely I made a mistake, right? No, I did not. In fact, the only error that I made is by leaving out the addendum of that they are magnetic boobs. Egad. So here's the deal. Mariah's stand Bastet gives her some loose powers over magnetism, mainly in the form of messing around with the magnetic field surrounding whomever she fights. Now, over time, this grows and grows, drawing more and more magnetic materials to the subject until they eventually die from the sheer weight of it or are just impaled by a million high-speed metal objects. Now, translating this power into a video game was always going to be a tough sell, but the devs, well, they put their heads together, created a million Pepe Silver spider charts and stood around nodding at their conclusion. Because the answer was bullet tits. That's right, using a million bolts and nuts that she stuffs her bra with, Mariah's special move sees her fire metal objects from her chest at her opponent. But to the layman walking in on you playing this video game, it definitely looks like she's just shooting at you with her breasts, leading you to, in a likely humiliated fashion at this point, try to explain what the bloody hell is going on. And it's just like, sure buddy, sure, I believe you. If this is how you want to spend your time, go right ahead. I'll tell you what, we'll just wait downstairs for you to be finished and you can join us for Sunday lunch. Just remember, your elderly nan is over here. And you know what? That's fine. You just take your time. Just make sure that whatever it is turned off up here and you cleaned up afterwards, all right? All right? I'll save you a Yorkshire pud. So in effect, this is kind of a double whammy, with all of the overtly sexualized moves making it a humiliating defeat for your opponent, and your own sense of shame is getting nuked as well if anyone catches you in the act, as it were. Number 4, Fecal Meltdown, Fallout 2. Now, when it comes to the Fallout franchise, comedic deaths are not exactly hard to find. From being beaten to death by rolling pin-wielding granny gangs in New Vegas to failing skill checks and looking like a total Burke before then being shot in the chops, or mouthing off to a super mutant only to see a mini-nuke fly right towards you, there's a lot of ways that you'll meet your maker and just go like, getting up to the pearly gates and be like, Peter, mate, you'll never guess how I died this time. Yeah, it's a bit embarrassing. Still, there's most definitely one death that you can experience in Fallout 2 that is total and utter humiliation, and it centers around a toilet and some explosives. You see, during a side quest that you receive in MODOK to retrieve Cornelius's golden watch, you'll enter the cave system below the town. However, in order to proceed further, you'll need to blow up a barricade that is blocking your passage. But wait, my dear friends, don't be lighting that dynamite fuse all willy-nilly, because if you do and didn't pay attention to the game warning you of the methane gas in this area and the poo-covered walls, and you just stand around, well, you could find yourself caught in the explosion and be killed immediately. Now, this would be bad enough normally, right? But because you did enter the cave through a toilet, and as I said before, the walls are covered in poop, in this instance, the game says that your body was not only mangled, but covered in meaning that none of the locals wanted to bury you because you stink so very badly. Damn, talk about rubbing salt and fecal matter in the wounds, right?
The residents of MODOK eventually find your body a few miles from the outhouse. The stench is so bad, they leave your corpse to rot in the waste.
And speaking of talking crap, it's time for me to do a call to action. I probably should have come up with a better link to this here, but I've noticed that a lot of you people watching the Deep Cut, you're still not subscribed to the channel. Come on, join in the party. You can stay up to date with all of our latest gaming content, and you can be notified when I go live every Friday with the Deep Cut with Jules Gill. Baby. So take that time to click that button, and why not click another button as well and get that notification bell? Come on, what do they say? Ding, ding, done. Fantastic stuff. Anyway, we're moving on, because it's time to talk about another toilet-related death. See, this is what you should subscribe for. Number 3, Cephalopod Shitehouse, the return of the Obra Din. Now, sticking with terrible times on the toilet, let's talk about the fate of Edward Spratt in the outstanding Return of the Obra Din video game. Now, let's be honest here. Nobody likes being disturbed when they're on the toilet, as that porcelain throne is just that, a part of a greater toilet kingdom that should be respected at all costs. Still, thanks to pets, your kid or your partner walking in while you're playing a personal game of Splatoon, this peace can be shattered at a moment's notice, turning things into quite the ordeal. However, at least these things don't result in your death. I mean, it might kill the romance of your relationship, but not actual death. But the same cannot be said of poor Edward Spratt, who, whilst visiting the head to exorcise some poop demons, unfortunately shits the bed by taking a dump on an actual kraken whose monstrous tentacles wrap around him and crush him to death. All the while, he still continues to evacuate his bowels, and it's all captured for you in an audio log. Enjoy. Now, not only is this a rough way to go, but to have your death then documented as part of the gameplay of Obra Din really is kicking you while you and your trousers are down. Number 2, hard petting, God Hand. Right, my friends, let's get one thing clear right off the bat. God Hand, while it is a phenomenally fun relic of the PS2 era, is so utterly tone-deaf and offensive by today's standards that people crying for a remake of this title are in the wind and in their own faces for good measure. That being said, it's also one of the weirdest games that I've ever played, and I'm continually drawn back to it thanks to its offbeat charm. I mean, what other fighting game uses tank controls, allows you to punt people in the balls as a special move, and as you're fighting luchador gorillas or demonic Elvis impersonators and a Power Rangers squad ripoff that is just so very odd. It is all set to the backing of like weird Western lounge music. What? And I ask you, what other game lets you experience a truly humiliating death that comes from being turned into a toy chihuahua and then being curb stomped to death? Not many, that's for Peter's sake. You see, when you reach the Shannon boss battle, this rogue demon with a love of impractical outfits will throw out a ton of offbeat attacks, including sending damaging love hearts your way and a super special move that turns you into a tiny chihuahua. Now in this mode, all you can do is run away as you possess no offensive moves and you take double damage for good measure. Now I won't lie to you friends. It is hard to die in this manner, seeing as all you really need to do is run away from Shannon, but still, on the harder difficulties, or with the higher internal adaptive difficulty level that's established by your combos and ass-kicking capabilities, 1 or 2 errant strikes will definitely be sending this puppy to the pound in the sky. I mean, Gene, our protagonist, sure has got that dog in him when it comes to fighting, but here it turns out that it's a boggle-eyed little runt. Plus, if this wasn't humiliating enough for you, by the way, I guess you could just sub this entry in for all of the enemies and bosses you can defeat by spanking them to death. That is a common thing that happens in this game, and it's as weird as it sounds. Enjoy. And number 1, Spooning the Witch King, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King for the Game Boy Advance. Now I ask you, is there any scarier foe than the Witch King in the Lord of the Ring books? What's that? Sauron? Nah man, he's just a bloody big eye infection with limited glower power. The Uruk-hai and orcs? Listen man, I'm sure that they're scary to some, but I've just seen Legolas ride one of them like a bloody surfboard, so yeah, they got negative aura out the ass. No, it's truly the Witch King and his tasty tinfoil hat that are right up there with the real scaremongers of this world. Confused? Well, so too was the Witch King in the Game Boy Advance port of Return of the King if you chose to rock up to the battle with nothing but a wooden spoon, an item that you can net right at the start of the game and which has the worst stats of any weapon you can wield because, well, it's a wooden spoon. Still, in the hands of a skilled player of this rather enjoyable hack-and-slash Game Boy Advance title, a spoon is as good as a holy blessed mace, and you can definitely carve his brains out like the innards of a ripe squash if you've got the time and the patience. So if you thought that it was a rather egg-on-your-face moment for the Witch King in the films to have assumed the wrong gender and gotten pied off, here you can double down and lodge a spoon right up his one ring for good measure, making it a rather humiliating end for a guy calling himself the Witch King. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 humiliating ways to die in video games. I hope that you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. And if you want to chat to me in the meantime further, you can do so over my social medias over here, and you can follow my lovely editor Mark over on his social medias over here as well. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Even though we spoke today about humiliating ways to die, let's celebrate life instead by starting our days by being bloody positive to ourselves, because you know what, my friends? We all bloody deserve that. We deserve love, happiness, and success. We all do as human beings, so just remember, above all else, you are a big ledge and you deserve the bloody best. So treat yourself that way, all right? As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.